Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Today is Wanderlust Wednesday, and I wanted to do a recording. Today is December 27th. We're in that in between week where we're kind of in between holidays. A lot of people take time off. A lot of people are spending time with family and realizing the value of time versus gifts. I've gotten a few emails on planning New England experiences for all ages, whether it's a multi-generational or couples or what. And sometimes we just don't have budget or we don't have vacation days to consider going to Europe. And with inflation and prices rising, sometimes it seems a little bit more daunting when airfare prices, even this far out, I'm seeing airfare from say New York City, JFK, Dallas, Fort Worth, DFW, direct flights to Munich, to Spain, unless you're flying with several connections, which as we get older, sometimes that just doesn't sound appealing either. We're looking at about $1,000 each way. And that's pretty much what my advisors have been telling me as well, that they don't foresee the European, the international flights dropping anytime soon. Whereas domestic flights, we may see a bit more flash sales, last minute sales. I was actually looking again today. Southwest is running deals, Frontier, and some of these other budget airlines. And you might even look at sites for direct flights. And I'll be talking a little bit about that on some other calls. But today I thought I'd just stop by and share some travel information. Like I said, it's that time when you're starting to think about what makes sense to you, maybe looking at like the top places to go in 2024. There's been a bunch of those lists. They posted pretty early actually, which was surprising. Travel and Leisure, which I'll just pull up their list right now. Travel and Leisure appeals to a little bit higher end audience, but that doesn't mean that their suggestions can't be done in a way that's a little bit more budget appropriate. So let me just pull open their list on this other page so I can share, see what they're seeing here. They've got categories. Let's see. They've got small towns in Sonoma County. They've got Australia. They've got a lot of different, yeah, they even broke down their destinations by category, like for cultural immersion, for food and drinks. And who doesn't love having good food when you travel? I know that's something I look forward to. Big city thrills. Depending on your personality, I'm going to be publishing an article soon about astrology. And again, that's something we look at in January. I remember, always wanting to read my horoscope when the new year hit. But, depending on your horoscope sign, and sometimes there are some overlap of what appeals to you. Wandering around on country roads isn't for everyone. Some people really like the excitement of going to cities. So popping into their list of cities, this is from Travel and Leisure. They're advising Bangkok this year. Cleveland is come up on the list. They're noticing that there's been a real rebirth of historic hotels. The NCAA Women's Final Four will come to Cleveland. They've got the Cleveland Museum of Natural History is nearing its multi-year 150 million expansion. They've got some new theaters. They've got a lot, it looks like, happening in Cleveland to put them on the map. So there may be something of interest there. They're also noting Fort Worth, Texas, Istanbul in Turkey, Kansas City, Missouri, which I've seen pop up on a few different lists. And some of these cities may be of interest just because they've got something different and unique that you didn't know. So if you're looking for weekends, sometimes it's a matter of taking a look at those 3-day weekends, and looking at them now before everyone else in your office asks for the extra day off, or the airline prices go up, or the rooms, which I was looking today, and certain cities, even along the California coast, are booking up all the way out into August, which is surprising. Las Vegas actually is also on this list. And I can tell you, since I'm living in Las Vegas, there is a lot happening in Vegas at any given time. And so maybe you're spending money on, one of the big concerts, whether it's the Rolling Stones, which will be back here. U2 has been here at the Sphere, Katy Perry, Adele, Lady Gaga. There's a bunch of headliners that come through. And you can go on Bands in Town, Ticketmaster, some of those sites, and go ahead and start looking at those tickets. But as you're looking at those venues and booking your room, you're also looking for something else to do in Vegas. And there's a lot of other things to do, whether it's the Pinball Museum or, maybe it's some off-strip rooms that are offering some unique things. The Mob Museum, there's a punk museum. I think the Neon Graveyard, which is what it used to be called, I think it's now actually called the Neon Museum, is just an incredible collection of all the great neon signs, and they have several different tours being offered now. And you can also do photo shoots there, you can do a wedding, you can do a gathering. Look at the prices for specialty things like that, but there is a lot to do in Vegas. So and lots of hotel rooms, lots of new properties to explore as well. Louisville, Kentucky is on this list. The Kentucky Derby, they note, is going to celebrate its 150th anniversary on May 2024. They've also got a lot of there's the Bourbon Trail that goes through Louisville. Montreal, Canada is on this list, which Montreal comes alive in summer once they hit summer and the weather's nice, and they've got lots of great evenings for music. Paris is on this list, and I always say Paris is a great idea. So those are just what's on Travel and Leisure's city list. So definitely some places to consider. Definitely some places I'll probably be adding to my list of potential places to see and visit this summer in between all the other travels. Now I want to just pop over to and get my screen back here to some of your questions that I'm seeing on TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor Travel Forum is a great place to go if you're looking for travel information from travelers. Now, the forum is also populated by people that are probably promoting their Airbnb and things like that as well. TripAdvisor occasionally comes under fire for soliciting reviews, because we all know we've probably walked into a hotel and seen on the counter that sometimes you can get a discount for writing a review, whether that's for Yelp or TripAdvisor, but they still remain two big resources for reading reviews. I often will see a hotel pop up at a great price, whether I'm Googling it and using Google Maps, or I'm looking just on a listing for where to stay. And oftentimes I look at the stars and the price, but then do yourself a favor and go look at recent reviews, which you may have to sort that way to get the newest reviews, and read the bad reviews and look and see why people are saying they're bad, and look at the good reviews as well, and look and see how many reviews the reviewer has written. If they've only written one review, there might be a chance that they were given a discount to leave that review, whether it was 10% off, a discount on their meal, a free breakfast. Who knows what it was, but I'm always a little bit cautious of someone that's only left one review, because they're not leaving a lot of reviews. So again, why all of a sudden they left this review? So I look for people that have reviewed multiple properties to kind of get a better feel of that property. I look for things like cleanliness for me, and each person has their threshold. I don't like seeing reviews where someone indicates that the sheets haven't been changed, or there were bugs or hair. Those are just some personal pet peeves that immediately, regardless of what my traveling companions might say, I'm like, yikes, I might want to spend the extra money and go with something that has better overall reviews. And yes, sometimes that's going to cost you. So if you know ahead of time, like you're looking at a place on an August weekend in the summer, a lot of families are traveling then, and you might not think that it should be expensive, but I honestly see a real flux. Something that it could cost $100 in off season for a night is now $300. And depending on the city, they're getting a 14% lodging tax. There might be a water charge tacked on there. So you want to really find out what your bottom line cost is. Airbnb too is also sometimes a good indicator of what the price is going for, because the Airbnbs kind of follow suit as well, and they'll actually tell you the total price. And I actually have seen hotels listing rooms on Airbnb where I think they can get by some of the local lodging taxes. I think there may be some sort of loophole, but just some extra tips. So let's hop on over to TripAdvisor. I'll see if there's some questions I can answer today. And as always, many of you know, my website is yourphototravelguide.com or fallphototrips.com. And besides having a love of photography, I just have fallen in love with New England all these years, but that's not the only place I've been traveling to. But New England, I do spend a lot of time, know it well, and know a lot of individual properties that sometimes don't make it into these bigger listings. They just don't have budget to advertise. And a lot of these properties too, there was a lot of change that happened during COVID. Mom and pops just found that they couldn't survive, or they sold, and now those lovely bed and breakfasts have turned back to private properties. So let's take a look here. And again, there might be some of these that are old, but I'll see. Here's interesting stops en route from Bartlett to Great Barrington. This I would probably need to just pull out my map and be able to indicate some great stops. I think there's a lot of places, depending on your interest, in New Hampshire. There's a lot of outdoor things. There's a lot of craft breweries popping up. There's a lot of little historic towns. It really depends, again, on how you want to spend your time and when you're traveling, because we tend to forget, we go through summer and we have all these magnificent hours of daylight, but if we're traveling, say now in the winter or again in the fall, sometimes it, like right now, it gets dark early, and in fall also it starts to get dark, sometimes by about 6 o'clock. So then you're not as able to enjoy outdoor things, and you might be looking for some things to do inside, whether that's a nice restaurant, some local shops, some antique stores, a cozy bed and breakfast, a place to get a drink, any of that. So I will take a look at that a little bit more in detail. New England road trip, more specifics added than previously. I'm not sure if this is a trip they took or if they are starting to do their research already, which again, as I mentioned, can be smart because you'll be first to the party to get the better choice of rooms. Let's see, we are two couples starting a road trip from Boston with a car. We are between 65 and 70. We are interested in natural beauty. Wow, this is the perfect kind of couple that would probably be a great fit for me to write out an itinerary for. They do plan to spend 2 nights in Kennebunkport and then drive to Bar Harbor for 5 nights. From there, they want to head to New Hampshire and Vermont for another 6 days before returning to Boston. And they also prefer bed and breakfast. So I hope I can reach out to this Ruth, because I think I would be able to help her immensely with a personal guided trip. But there's a lot to see along the coast between Kennebunkport and Bar Harbor. In fact, I would probably plan another night or two driving that stretch. To me, the main coastline, you could easily spend a week. Everybody is drawn to Bar Harbor because of Acadia National Park, which there's plenty to see in Acadia. But I also know that there's a lot of lighthouses, a lot of unique, quaint coastal towns along the coast before you get to Bar Harbor that offer so much charm and so much that when you get to Acadia, you'll be like, this kind of looks familiar. And not to take away from Acadia, because I know many people want to make sure they make it to all the national parks in their lifetime. So if that's a goal, I don't want to take that away from you, but I also would highly suggest spending a little more time. Otherwise, you're just going to be hit on that interstate, and you will have a tunnel of lovely trees if the timing is right for color, but you're going to miss so much of what there is to love about Maine. Places that were painted by the Wyeths, art museums, like I said, little coastal towns with great local lobster and fishing shacks and quaint, beautiful scenics that are just out of this world. I mean, just stunning. easy hike. So it looks like she's already gotten some input from various people. Um, I will probably try, like I said, to reach out to this person because I do think thinking through your bed and breakfast is important. It's also important to know if you're the kind of person that likes to sit down at one time for breakfast with other individuals, which I think is a great way to get local information. Also, stairs. She mentioned arthritis in her writing. So, some people, the stairs are an issue. And so, then getting those ground level floors in a bed and breakfast, sometimes those go quickly, and some bed and breakfasts honestly don't have any rooms on the first floor. I've seen that as well. So, couple different things there. Let me go back over to the questions quick, and maybe I'll hit some of the other um, forums as well. Finishing touches. Wow, these people are already finishing touches for a road trip. And yes, this is a honeymoon road trip for September 2024 for Stephen. He's coming from England. He's got all the flights and accommodations. Wow, he's ahead of the game. He's going to arrive in Boston and then go to the Seaport District. If you go to Boston, I do have an amazing guide who offers amazing history tours. He also knows the best places to eat, where to shop, and he's very engaging and entertaining, and he gears the walk to you and to your interests, whether that's the gardens, whether that's the historic places. He's been able to secure some amazing places to eat and some experiences that I wouldn't have necessarily found on my own because, again, he's a destination tour guide for Boston and, in fact, is working on a book of that area. So I love what he offers. To me, it's well worth the time sometimes to hire a guide if your time is limited. I mean, he's putting in his notes, he's coming all the way from England and only spending 2 nights in Boston, which is quick because the first night you get there after a long flight, and I don't care if it's even 3 or 4 hours, travel is now exhausting. You've waited in line, you've had your bag gone through in security, you've had to sit on a hard stool maybe to wait to board the plane and then get on the plane and then sit. I will say Frontier seats are not comfortable. I would advise taking a Frontier flight. Keep those flights short unless you really bring a pillow for your butt. I found that the seats on Frontier did get a bit uncomfortable, even though the flight was super affordable. And then the next night, it's like nighttime sometimes is a wonderful time to go out and explore these cities, especially a place like Boston. You've got the lights, you've got the history kind of almost oozing up from the cobblestone walkways. And that, when it's quieter and there's fewer people in those touristy areas, because even September, Boston is just a very popular city, and you've got the university there, you've got students, you've got people always coming in and out of Boston. Hence, that is why staying in the historic district, yes, you pay a little bit more, but you literally right out your front door can walk and experience history. That's one of the things I really enjoyed when I've stayed in Boston, is just literally being able to walk out the door. There's the cemetery. There's where, Thomas Jefferson and some of the founding fathers, things were happening. Things were happening right there beneath your feet. That is really, the birthplace of a lot of American history as we know it. He also notes he's going to, full day in Boston, maybe visit Harvard. All of these maybes, again, I would get a guide because they will be able to make the best use of your time. Because otherwise, when you get there, it's like sometimes you wake up and then you're like trying to figure out how to get onto some of these areas. Some of the universities, you do need some sort of guide. They don't let you just wander in off the street willy-nilly, or you only have access to a certain part of the campus as such. I think he's going to Salem, Massachusetts. Again, when you're indicating what towns you're going to, a lot of times town names are repeated. There's a Manchester, New Hampshire. There's a Manchester, Vermont. There's probably a Manchester, Massachusetts. A lot of these town names get repeated, so it can be confusing unless you indicate what state you're looking at. And drive times can be a bit, you can, like I said, he's got Tuesday, September 17th, he's driving from Algonquin to Bar Harbor. That is like easily a full day, and that's not counting stops. And you can stop, but it's going to be in and out of the car. And meantime, everything else along that coastline that you could have stopped and seen has disappeared and gone. And like I said, I know sometimes I've done the same thing. I've had to go to Europe and literally do what I call a first timers trip where only in a city for 2 nights. And I know later that was not enough time, but at least I got a taste. And sometimes that's literally what I have to call it, a sampler of Ireland or a sampler of Europe. So I get it. But when you can, there's certain places you may want to shift your time and make choices otherwise. It's 2:38. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. Be sure and drop your specific questions to me. It's yourphototravelguide.com/contact. Drop your question, drop an email. I'll be happy to address individual questions. And I hope to be back on here at least once a week and update you with upcoming travel information. So thanks, guys, and have a great rest of your week. Happy New Year.